Welcome to Challenging the Norm, his and hers look at life and business, hosted by Paul Snell and Lindsey Burden. This podcast is designed for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and business owners redefining success on their terms. Each episode dives into the topics that truly matter, offering a blend of candid discussion, practical insights, all delivered with a sense of humour. We reality check the latest business trends while offering a fresh perspective that challenges conventional thinking. Paul partners with business leaders, leveraging cutting-edge neuroscience to demonstrate how people-centered strategies drive transformational success. While Lindsey brings her unique approach to business coaching, empowering ambitious business owners to achieve financial abundance and a lifestyle rich in time and joy, all without compromising what matters most. Together, we are challenging the norm. So grab a coffee or your beverage of choice and join us as we explore the art of creating a life and business you love.
Oh my goodness, Paul, it is the first episode of Challenging the Norm of January 2026. How did that happen?
Do you know what? I don't know, Lindsay. I turned round, there we were, doing our last episode. I remember it's clear as day, talking about the year and how much fun and so forth. And I'm thinking, great, we've got all this time over Christmas. It'd be wonderful. And here we are.
I know.
Unbelievable.
It feels, some of it does feel like a bit of a rinse and repeat of last year, but maybe we'll get onto that later. But I was saying to you before we started that I'm like one of these annoying puppies that's been let off the lead for the first time. And I've got my plans and I'm all excited and I'm driven and I'm bouncing around, even though I'm not feeling very well, still bouncing around. And I wanted to touch really on this episode how that isn't for everybody. And everybody is different, and we put a huge amount of pressure on ourselves around this time of year. And I wanted us to explore that a little so that listeners, wherever they are in their journey, whether they're bouncing like a puppy let off the lead for the first time, or whether they're really still struggling to get their mojo and get that momentum, I want them to know that it's okay and there's no right or wrong way to it.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good point. I mean, we seem to have, in general, this cultural fixation on the 1st of January being this magical date where life will change forever. I'm being incredibly flippant with that. Of course I am. Mm-hmm. But it's still a fair point to say we associate January the 1st with this time where everything needs to change, or the things that we were struggling with or the lack of progress in some areas, that will all change because January the 1st is the day. Right? The problem I have with that, it sets you up for a real fall if you're not careful. You know, you and I have often spoken about just do the next thing. Just do the next thing. Don't complicate it. Don't overstretch it. Do the next thing. And yet, and I'm just as guilty in the past, just as guilty with this. You sit there and go, right, I'm going to lose weight. I'm not going to drink. I'm going to exercise 7 days a week. It's just crazy what we set ourselves up for. But that's not to say it's wrong to have some objectives.
No, and I think that's setting yourself up this, it's always around health, isn't it? I don't know why, but everyone wants to lose weight or become healthier or all of those things, very health related. I don't know. I do know. I think that's related and linked to the fact that over Christmas, everyone overindulges.
Yeah.
So they come out the other side. And I think knowing that January the 1st is their new start, it gives them permission to overindulge. And therefore it becomes that I have to do this in this period, which is a complete load of rubbish, because you can choose to be healthy on a Thursday, a Friday, Easter, middle of the summer, whenever you feel like it. But we seem to put such pressure on January the 1st. And I think where health is related, I think it's because it gives us permission to overindulge. And for a person that doesn't smoke or drink, that indulging isn't that exciting, but I've probably eaten my weight in cheese. Just saying. I think there is this piece, isn't there, around why do we put so much pressure? Now, I think I don't put pressure on it in business because actually it's Q4. Because of where my financial year is. So it's not a new beginning at all, which means I get lots of other new beginnings. Just
Yeah.
put it out there.
And it's I just find it so interesting. This January the 1st date, that's a Gregorian calendar standard. But it's just something culturally we have. There's no distinct scientific meaning behind January the 1st. And it's very true what you say. For me too, it's also Q4. It's the start of Q4. It's not the start of my financial year at all. It's coming to the end. And guess what? The end is all about push and all about, come on, focus. Let's get to that point where we have a clear year that's been as successful as you plan to be. So I think what we're saying is there is no rhyme or reason to make January the 1st necessarily a special date.
No, none whatsoever.
I think this is key. We were talking before, as we often do in our preambles when we don't record, which is crazy. We're talking about the mindset stuff here, because the more you talk about this, more you realize the reality. It's a crazy concept, because there is no start that's a particular thing for the 1st of January, except it's the start of a month. It's the start of a new calendar year. That doesn't have any bearing on your business or the activities you decide to do or not do.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in fact, just talking about it then, I was getting even more excited. This puppy was even more excited, because I was thinking, yes, every quarter is a new start. Every month is a new start. Then we have this new financial year. And I really do think that's why I don't have so much pressure on January 1st. Equally, I don't make any New Year's resolutions. Do you?
No. There's a whole bunch of research around this, and it's fascinating. It's not overly conclusive. The stats seem to show that after 3 weeks we fall off the wagon. Right, all these New Year's resolutions last about 3 weeks. That's not black and white. Humans are not black and white, so we can never be, say, 100% sure that New Year's resolutions fail. They don't. Predominantly they do. And here's the thing: when you're trying to do more than 3, this is the magic number, when you try and do more than 3, you up the ante on failure by some huge factor.
Wow.
So when we sit and go, new year, new me, new things, we fall into a trap on 2 fronts. Firstly, we try and do too much.
Yeah.
This is, put aside the date thing. We just try and do too much too soon. We also pick things that aren't congruent with how we live. So to turn around and go, I tell you what, I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop smoking. I don't do any of those. I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to cut down my eating. Yeah, guilty on that one. When you get more than those 3 of significant change, it becomes almost guaranteed for failure.
Isn't that's the same in anything, isn't it? And we talk about mainly business, but all of these things apply to life when we take a moment to think about them. When you try and make it so big, you are never going to achieve it. When the goal feels so big, so we talk about annual goals in business, you break them down so you know where you're going and what you need to achieve on a month-to-month basis. You can divide it by 4 and make it a weekly goal if you prefer. We just need to break things down. And if you just look at health and well-being, for example, which let's face it, is a multi-billion-pound industry. Gym memberships galore right now. If you wanted one, I'm sure you'd get the deal of a century. But the problem is, I'm going to lose weight, so we don't actually know how much weight. We don't know when by. So there's some challenges right there. But you go, right, okay, so I need to go to the gym. Picking up on your point. Do I even like going to the gym? Does that appeal to me? Do I want to be wearing okay, no, I don't want to be. So we're already, and I don't say that to put another boundary in place or another barrier rather in place. But if you actually have got if someone said to me, join a gym, Lindsay, it'll be great. I'll be like, no, it won't be great. So what we have to do is come back and go, okay, so if I want to improve my health, what's one small thing I can do?
Yeah.
Okay, I can park the car further away from my office. And I can walk. Yeah. I can one day a week leave the car at home. Instead of driving to the shop to pick up a pint of milk, there are so many, and I've got this incredible friend who, she's a physiotherapist. She talks about this all the time around health and well-being. The tiny, tiny things. If you want to be healthier and fitter this year, the one thing you can do is swap every cup of coffee or tea for a glass of water.
Yeah.
Water, sleep, get 8 to 9 hours of sleep. There are so many small things that you can do that are easy to integrate. And the same applies to your business. If you want to increase your revenue and immediately go, oh, what do I need to sell and who am I going to sell to? I would suggest you first look at what you're already doing is working, because you could just double down on that. Don't add more to the plate. I think we're really good at saying this is myth, like the 1st of January, isn't there? We've got to make it really hard because then the glory will be greater. Well, I question that.
Well, I think you would be right. And the point you make is probably the gold in this episode, if I'm honest. And that is...
so soon.
It's really soon. We do need to get our head around these small steps. We really, really do. It's the game changer. I can remember many years ago when I started coaching, I was in a room full of people and I was explaining how to break down a big goal, right? And I said, does anyone have a big goal? Now, normally it's, Paul, I want to do £1 million or whatever it might be. Someone stood up and said, Paul, and he's a friend now and has been since, said, I'm climbing Mount Everest. Can you help me break that one down? And it's like, but what?
You could, and I bet you did.
We did. And it started as you described it. It started as okay, so you know technically what you need to do. So part of that was, while he is in normal place where he lives, is to walk more, just to walk more and walk in the boots that he's going to be climbing the mountain in. There's nothing about that is a huge shift from normality. He likes to go for a walk. He's just changed the footwear that he's going to wear at the time. And yet he has this, and I will tell you he got to the top, and he's one of the only people that's ever done a burpee at the top of Mount Everest.
Wow.
I know. Can you imagine? I would just be gasping for air thinking about it.
Not sure I'd get there.
Yeah. And so the point I'm making in this is, we can have big, audacious goals. We can sit down and say, this is what I'm about. This is a goal that I want to go for. It might be a bigger long-term goal. It could be, I want to have a company that I can sell in 5 years, or I want to have a team of people working with me on this big project, which takes time to build up and to recruit. These are big goals, but it all begins with this breaking down into really, really small steps. And the logic behind that is your brain will recognize change, even if it's just 1%. You know, there's this old, it's not old really, it's quite recent, the story where, and forgive me for not remembering who the trainer was, but for the Sky cycling team, they changed everything by 1% each time. So they would train a bit harder just by 1%. And it proved to be the making of this hugely successful cycling team who went on to dominate cycling at a world level, because they didn't sit there saying, come on, we've got to improve things this month by 20% to get to where we want. It was just 1% and 1% compound. And it's the same concept. And the logic here is our brain recognizes progress and it doesn't find pain in that small step. If I had to turn around and say to my now friend, well, Simon, you're going to have to, your first step would be make sure you can walk up to base camp, which is higher than most mountains in the world, then that was always going to be a mind problem for him to get over the fact that just walking long distance in his new boots would be a challenge.
But I think this 1% is really interesting. Even that needs a mindset shift to understand, because there'll be part of you that goes, well, that's not going to be enough, is it?
Yeah.
But we know that 1% compounded over time is enough.
Yeah.
What then happens, I think, for some, and I'm kind of smiling to myself as I go 1%. So what could be 1%? It feels almost too small that I can't think about it. Or I still try and make it larger than 1%. So I think it's that thing, isn't it, around saying, what can I do today? what's the one thing that will move the needle in my favor today? And if that works, doing it every day, and then when that's embedded as a really great habit in your business, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
Because you don't, and because that's the key, isn't it?
It is.
You can't just go, well, we'll do this one thing today, now we're going to do another thing tomorrow. It is about day after day. It's about repetition.
It is, and it is about really breaking down your goal really carefully. You know, there was no, when we did this with Simon, who's the chap that climbed Mount Everest, it was never a case of, let's do a bunch of things and they'll all add up to you getting on to base camp and the top. It was carefully thought through. The idea that he knew he had to walk miles in these new boots, right? And we all know what new shoes are like. Doesn't matter how good they are and how good they are for you. We all know what new shoes are like, right? So this was the smallest of things. Can you imagine in your head, you're going, right, I need oxygen for going up Mount Everest. I need the highest end equipment. And he needed to get support for that. He was doing it on a sponsorship basis. Those are big things, right? Those are big things to sort out. We were just talking about getting used to walking in the shoes he was going to wear.
Because that's the beginning, isn't it? That's the first step, no pun intended. That is the first step, and that's the important part, isn't it? It's the same as the guy who helped the rowing team. And it was, does it make the boat go faster? So whatever they did, are we going down the pub tonight? Will it make the boat go faster in the morning? No, then we won't. And you can take that in different ways. I mean, they're obviously, they were training for an Olympics and they were training to win gold medals. And what you are willing to sacrifice will be greater than perhaps somebody who just wants to be able to row the little boat up and down the river for their grandchildren to enjoy. So it does go back to what is the why, what is the outcome, why is it important to you, etc., doesn't it? So I think it does come with a bit of sacrifice, maybe, and the level of sacrifice depends on what you're trying to do.
I agree, and because everything comes with some form of sacrifice, right? If you think about something you want to achieve and there's no sacrifice in that, it wouldn't have been something you wanted to achieve in the first place. You would just do it. So I think there's always sacrifice. I think one of the challenges for me, going back to our 1st of January point, is how much we look to change. How many things we talk about. I spoke about 3 things, and after that it's almost always going to fail. Then the question is, so what does failure do to you? If in 3 weeks in, so the average time to break a New Year's resolution is 3 weeks. If 3 weeks in, you fail at one or all of these resolutions you put in place, what does that do to your mindset?
Yeah. And I do think, I was just thinking that, so I vaped to give up smoking, which, by the way, I do not recommend at all. And I believe that giving up vaping is much, much harder than giving up smoking for a whole host of reasons. But I had to give up smoking for an operation. So I went to vaping and I thought, well, I'll stay here because there's no point now in going back to cigarettes. And this is the route to not being a smoker. It was a very long route, I have to know, but let's go with it. So for about 5 years later, and then I'm about to have another operation, which is I am choosing to have. So the hospital are very clear. There can be no nicotine in your system whatsoever, nothing.
Wow.
And they test you and you will not have your operation, okay? So I thought, well, okay, this is my... this was back sort of whenever they told me. So I'd been starting to go down from whatever milligrams to 0 milligrams in the fluid that I was vaping. So, which is awful, by the way. So that in itself, you now know you're not smoking. It's horrible. Doesn't taste very nice. And actually, I'm getting really annoyed just because I can't enjoy the one thing I could enjoy because I don't drink either. Anyway, not to get angry. I think I was able to more easily, and I'm not saying it was easy because it was not, more easily because one, I was doing it for a very good reason, and for me it was like, okay, well, that gives me my final out. but also because it wasn't the 1st of January, it wasn't the 1st of any old month. I was like, okay, so I've done zero nicotine for a couple of orders now. Actually, I don't want to place another, might as well kind of, and I've been slowly weaning, and because you go to zero, you vape less and less and less. And I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. I won't do it anymore. But it became easier because it wasn't the 1st. I know from experience, for trying to give up smoking, if you go, I won't smoke from the 1st of January, it's not going to happen. No. And in purple, let's be honest, as much as, and to bring it back to this 1st of January piece, I think there is we are living in a world that is completely bonkers right now. And every time you and I sit here and go, well, it's starting to look a bit better, or it feels like it's getting a bit better, or hopefully it's getting a bit better, something else happens. And I think, could it have got any more bonkers? I'm really hoping it doesn't now. I think, but who knows? And I think that is a really hard place to be if you're putting such importance on a date at a time when everybody's trying to do all these things, so nobody's in a particularly good mood anyway, and we still are the weight of cheese because we've eaten that much. I think it's a really difficult place right now. So choose wisely is what I'm saying. Choose really wisely what it is that you want to work on, and go back to, why is it really important? If I want to be healthier and happier. Why do I want to be healthier? Because I want to be able to run with the grandchildren more.
Yeah.
Really think about what it would mean on the other side of that.
I think you're absolutely right. And in the same way as you were talking there, I also think what will become more important, and it's contextual, so this isn't always going to be the thing that you do, but is not shield yourself, is the wrong word. What do you cut out from your day-to-day life to help protect as much as you can the mindset that you're going to require to make progress, right? Yeah. What I mean by that really is, for example, I am incredibly careful about where I get my news from.
Yeah, we talked about that before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Really careful.
And I think it's the same when it comes to making progress with anything. Just be careful about what you surround yourself with. When it comes to making any form of progress, even this small 1% stuff, I think you need to be very, very careful about who you surround yourself with, because it can become very easy to be told that's not important. And here's the trick. We think we hear it and dismiss it. We actually don't. No. Our subconscious hears it, and if it's reinforced on a regular basis, you can consciously emit it as much as you like, but your default, the place you go to first to make decisions, is always your non-conscious. It's always that gut feel. It's the thing that you react to. It's the instantaneous thought that you have. And if we're not careful, if we have too much information that convinces our brain, which is really clever, that it's a tricky world to be in, even more so if the information is about how rubbish an economy is, it can have a dramatic impact on the resilience you need to have.
So, yeah, I totally agree. But then that comes back to the thing we say all the time: stay in your lane.
Yes.
Choose what you don't need. And we were talking earlier about the sacrifice that what are you willing to sacrifice? And I'd like to throw in really, and while I think when I gave up vaping, there was this like, well, that's the last thing, I've sacrificed everything now. And what I tuned into quite quickly, I was like, oh, I haven't actually left my desk this morning.
Yeah.
All this work that I've got done. And it was really interesting how it was an unconscious thing that I noticed. I was like, wow, I'm getting way more work done. I feel way more focused. So while there is often a sacrifice, sometimes that's a very initial sacrifice that you have to make for a wonderful gain. And that's the same in business and in life, and applies to so many things.
Yeah. It does. Now, I'm going to give you a perspective of a non-smoker who's never smoked, right?
Never smoked?
Ever in my entire life. So, but here's the thing. I'm going to give you an odd perspective here that isn't always something that you think about, and that is, whether we like it or not, for as long as I can remember, people would go off and have a cigarette or now a vape, and things would be discussed. It's as if you're in the workplace. Things would be discussed and you would never find out. It's not about keeping a secret. It's about there's this process, this very informal process that goes, oh, I was just having a cigarette with so-and-so, and guess what? This has happened. And so for a non-smoker, you do reach a point where you go, I'm missing out.
Well, you're not missing out, Paul, anymore, because one, there are fewer and fewer smokers and more vapors, and there are more, I was going to say rules, I'm not sure the rules, but there are more protocols in office spaces around going out, because, you know, I've certainly been in offices where they go, well, they've been out 8 million times, and now that's how many breaks they've had, and I should be entitled to half a day. We've all been there and we've all seen that.
Of course, and it is way better now. But the point really about that is we can become so clear on a context such as, great, we don't have people really that smoke anymore. Some businesses don't allow you to go out and have a cigarette, blah, blah, blah. But there's always a risk of something in there that has an impact on how you think. So for someone like me many years ago now, the idea that, well, I'm missing out, which is the oddest thing, isn't it? Now, at no point did I think, do you know what, I'll go and smoke.
I was going to say,
I'll go
you didn't.
Well, I'll give in. I'll go with the norm. I didn't do that. But there is this mindset that I think we need to be cautious of yeah, it can be perceived as a right thing to do. And if you're not doing it, well done you. Right? So I can go, you're right, never smoked. I think that's a good thing. In general, it certainly is for my finances, apparently, because apparently it's a lot of money to buy cigarettes now. And it certainly will be for my health. But it didn't change the fact that I did question. I did question that.
That's the same as they reckon that the best conversations happen outside a pub once they move smoking.
Yeah.
Outside a pub, everyone was out there smoking. I can tell you that most of the conversations were not that interesting outside a pub. Not sure I even had that many interesting conversations when we were smoking outside the offices. But I do remember the days when we smoked in the offices and the overflowing ashtrays and how awful that was. It just seems absolutely bonkers that we used to smoke in offices.
Doesn't it?
Or smoke on planes.
Does it? And also not just smoke on planes, but eventually they got to, that's a non-smoking bit, this is a smoking bit. You go, have you told the smoke that, by the way? It doesn't behave because there's a line saying they can smoke, they don't smoke. But in all seriousness, it's just an example of how mindset is really, really important. And we talk about, and I've spoken about where you get your information from, who you surround you with. Yeah. I've got a friend of mine who is incredibly good at swimming, won a gold medal at the Olympics, and he also would describe his, now bear in mind it's extreme, right? It takes unbelievable commitment to get to that point. Yeah. And apparently it's 1 in 10,000 will get you to that point. That's how rare it is to achieve a gold medal.
I don't think we've got time.
Oh no!
Well, and I have not got time to be big swimmers.
That's not a stress on me at all. I can tell you that. But his point was how much he needed to exclude from his life to ensure he had the focus to achieve it. Now that's an extreme, right? It is an extreme. He would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go swimming, and he would do that throughout the day. And on and on. And he knows 𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗄 very well. And he said, 𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗄 is someone who can do that and love it. So there is a mindset in the extreme for these things, but we're not talking about that, right? No. You and I are saying, look, very straightforward, down to earth, normal stuff. Recognize that small steps are always going to be the winner over big chunks.
Yeah. And when you fall off the wagon,
yeah,
it's okay to hop back on.
Yes.
You go, oh, well, there's no point now, which is how so many, I think that's exactly how these, New Year's resolutions are not kept, because someone goes, oh, I've had a drink. Oh,
yeah.
I forgot. And I went and had a cigarette with so-and-so. Oh, and we'll keep going back to those examples. There are lots of other examples.
Of course.
But, if it happens, just brush yourself off. You're only flipping human. So whether you've decided that you're going to be more consistent in networking and you miss a networking event, go to the next one. If you've decided that you're going to be more consistent and make an offer at the end of every single one-to-one call and you've forgotten the last two, make an offer on the next one. If you have decided that you are going to walk more and take the car less into town, and this week the weather has been horrendous and you've got in the car, next week might be better. It's all okay. You can just start again. It doesn't mean anything. It's okay.
No, and without going on about my love for social media, we need to be, I mean, that's a prime example where it can be so distinct from failure to success. There's no middle ground. And I think beating yourself up unnecessarily is such a disaster for everything that you want to achieve. Not just the actions, but how you think, how you feel. If all you do is go, well, I failed, you don't fail. You only fail when you give up.
Yeah. So if you didn't do something, just check in with yourself.
Yeah.
Why didn't I go to that last networking event? Oh, I know, it sort of clashed with that and then I got confused. That's absolutely fine. Or why didn't I make that offer? Okay, in both of those calls, I felt a bit uncomfortable. Why did I feel uncomfortable? What could I do differently? How can I prepare? Use these opportunities to really learn, whether it's in business or in life.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I'm listening to us talk, and I always do because it's great. But in doing so, I'm hearing really clear how important this small step stuff is. I'm hearing really clear that you don't need to use January the 1st as a launch pad for anything. It's just a day.
Yeah.
We have 364 others you can pick as well. And I think this is really important. And by the way, we're not bashing New Year's resolutions. We're not saying you don't whatever you don't do them. What we're saying is don't put yourself under unnecessary pressure. You don't need to. You really don't need to. Make it nice, simple chunks, not big leaps to do things. And be aware of consistency. It's consistency that matters here, and consistency can be, I've done this thing for the last 5 days. Oh, today I didn't do it. The weather's bad. I didn't feel so poorly. That's not the end of consistency. Consistency doesn't mean cast iron guarantee that you've done it every day. It means you brush yourself off and you get back on it again.
Unless you're on Duolingo and then you lose your streaks. A whole different one. That's a whole different thing. But you're absolutely right. You know, joking apart, you're absolutely right. Consistency is, you know, going again.
Yeah.
Resilience is going again.
Yes.
Strength, growth, they're all going again. That's what you keep doing. And if it's the same in business or life, if you try something and it doesn't work, you go again.
Yes.
You try something and it didn't quite work, you'd like to try it another way, you go again.
Yes.
If you had a conversation with someone and they were a no now, that's okay. They might be a yes in the future, but you go again tomorrow and you talk to somebody else. We just keep going again. And actually that whole thing around PT, actually enjoying it, I think if you can get to the point where actually life's just one fabulous game and you're having a great time with it and you just get to go again, choose again, you can have a new year any day that you want. Yeah. I think that's how you get more enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, and isn't it great? You're not, there's no magic point. You can have it at any time. I think it's such. I've got the sun right in my eyes here. If you're listening, I can't see a thing, which is marvelous, and I look like that I'm actually blind as well because the sun's right in my eyes. I'm going to persevere. If you're listening, you don't care. If you're watching, it can be mildly hilarious. So I think just summing up this episode, because we have run out of time, and I will effectively be blind shortly. I think it's really clear, isn't it? We are not reinventing the wheel with this. We're not coming up with some crazy equation that means you succeed or whatever you do at New Year's Day. What we're saying is this is really about small steps. This is really about not beating yourself up. This is really about when you fall off, get back on again, and keep it clear. So be clear, right? As you pointed out, this idea, I want to get fit. That's insufficient information, right? Why do you want to get fit? That's the thing that pulls you forward. What does fit mean? Because fit can mean I'm going to go for a walk once a day, or it can mean I'm going to do the latest spin class and every night, whatever it might be.
Or drinking more water.
Or drinking more water, yeah.
Getting more sleep.
Yeah, yeah. Straightforward as that. That's, I think, our big message for the first podcast of 2026.
Yay! Always a pleasure.
Fantastic. Great episode to start with. I think we put the world to rights on that. As ever, if anybody would like to drop us a message or recommend a subject we talk about, or just to get in touch and give us a comment, we would love to hear from you. It's important to us that, as much as Lindsey and I love to sit and chat, we could probably chat for hours, if I'm honest. It is important to us that people get benefit from this. So if you're listening and you've got a point to make or some feedback or a suggestion, go for it.
We'd love to hear from you. Oh, Paul, it was great. And I can't wait for the next episode.
Excellent. On that note, Lindsey, we'll draw this one to a close and we'll see them next time.
Absolutely.
Cheers.